Hello and welcome, friends, again to my channel Astrology and Pending Karma. And today we are going to discuss about Rahu's transit over your natal sun or natal moon. And before we do that, we do need to understand what Rahu is, so we can understand what are its impacts when they transit over sun and or moon. Now, Rahu in Indian mythological story, Rahu is a head portion of a Danava or Rakshas or an evil person called Svarbhanu. Um, it's a head portion of Svarbhanu, and so the story goes that there was a war going on between the gods and the demons, and Svarbhanu was one of the demons. And uh, when when they found out that the gods have the nectar of immortality, the demons wanted to have a chunk of that as well. But obviously that cannot be allowed, otherwise there would be a unending chaos in the world. So the gods decided not to give it to them, and Vishnu was really smart about it, and he was serving the nectar of immortality to the gods. When he was doing that, Svarbhanu, uh, he's the son of Viprasiddhi and Simhika, came to know about it, and what he did is he transformed himself into one of the gods, and it is said to be sun. So he transformed himself into that uh, deity, and then he sat along with the gods. Now, when the Vishnu was had taken um an avatar of Mohini, and he was serving all the gods with the nectar of immortality. At the same time, Rahu, or as we know today, or Svarbhanu, as the real name suggests, was sitting in line with the gods and also consumed that nectar of immortality. But Sun, uh, as we know it, the Sun went on to Lord Vishnu and said that he knew that Svarbhanu is a demon, and he recognized him, and he immediately said that, okay, Lord Vishnu, this person is does not deserve, and this person is a demon, and he's not a part of God kingdom. So immediately what Krishna did, or Vishnu did, was he released his Sudarshan chakra and cut him in half from his neck upwards, from his neck and downwards. Now the upper part of Svarbhanu is known as Rahu, and the lower part of Svarbhanu is known as Ketu. And it was cut in a way that the upper part went on to the top of the earth, revolving earth, and Ketu, which is the bottom part of Svarbhanu, went on to the bottom part of the earth. Now, because of the revolving earth, and also it revolves on its own axis, and at the same time it revolves around the sun, it's almost impossible for them to come together. So Rahu and Ketu are always apart from each other, 7 houses. Now, and that is as far as a mythological story concerned about Rahu. Now, and the story is more symbolic than anything else. Now, the important factor is to understand Rahu. From this story, what we can understand is Rahu is very clever and it's cunning. Rahu is a factor of insatiable hunger. So it wants something that it does not deserve, because of the ways that his ways of living life. So, but it doesn't matter. He or she definitely wants it. Now, a boundary. It's also a boundary breaker and a taboo subject. Rahu is a taboo. It's a hidden thing. Rahu is an unreasonable desire, something that you shouldn't desire, something that you shouldn't think of. Rahu is definitely that. Now it's a cold, dry land. In terms of land, it's very cold. It's very dry, and it can also sometimes, depending on what planet it sits with, it can also represent a desert. But definitely it is a dry land. It's not flourishing. Now, Rahu is an expansion of desires. It's always expanding, it's always desiring. It takes over anything that it sits with in the natal chart. So if Rahu is sitting with any planet, then Rahu will take the position, try to take over whatever that planet represents, whatever the Rahu represents. So Rahu is better if it is sitting alone in the chart. It's always better if it's sitting with some or the other planet. It will try to take over that planet, and we'll discuss about it how it affects later on. But as of right now, that's important to remember. Secondly, Rahu either cheats or get cheated. So just like Rahu wanted to get into that position of immortality, so he cheats everyone and sits it, even it's his own demon friends. He doesn't share it with anyone else. He just goes and sits in the gods and tries to consume that nectar of immortality. So he cheats definitely, and he also cheated the gods. He cheated the demons, his friends, and he gets cheated just the way he got cheated, meaning that they were not told that, okay, this is something that we are serving. But he is clever and he is very sharp and he is quite cruel as well. So it's difficult to cheat a Rahu person, dominate a person, but it does happen in certain dasha and antardashas. Rahu is a king of illusion. So what Svarbhanu did was that he transformed his physical body into one of the gods who was absent, and that's how he was able to sit in the line of the gods. So basically, Rahu is a king of illusion. He can throw you off by saying or showing you something that doesn't exist, or doing something that doesn't exist. Now, it also represents bad times. Now, as soon as Rahu is there, it's pretty much guaranteed that there is going to be a bad time. Maybe not immediately, maybe not today, maybe not in 5 years, but maybe eventually it's going to bring you down. It represents a shadow that cannot be touched nor be destroyed, but at the same time, it does linger around you. Rahu represents your paternal grandfather. In terms of relationships, Rahu causes fear and stressful situations, especially because Rahu represents some sudden, unanticipated events. So, because of those events, sometimes it puts a fear in you. It creates a lot of stress in you as well. So that is basically what Rahu is. Rahu can also sometimes, overshadow the existence of the planet itself. So we'll talk more about what Rahu is. There is a lot we can talk about it, but for now, that's what Rahu is. Now, next we are going to talk about is Rahu transiting over your natal sun in your birth chart. Now, usually this means there is an eclipse in the chart. Now, it is a permanent, it's a personal eclipse. It's because remember, it's just transiting over your natal sun. So people who are born along with you during the month or the time, that's when Rahu transits over there. Now, depending on the position, the house, the Rashi, a lot will differ. So if sun is really strong, the impact is definitely more. The sun is weak, or you've had a weaker sun, you've never had an issue with the sun, then the impact is a little bit less compared to what I'm going to say. Having said that, let's get on with it. So Rahu conjunct sun, or transit over sun. What happens then? So when Rahu transits over Sun, first of all, it's important to remember what it means. So as soon as it enters the Rashi, or it enters the sign where the Sun is placed, it will start showing its impact. It doesn't really matter if it's going over directly or not, but it does show its impact right away. Having said that, um, the intensity of that impact is definitely felt more as it gets closer to sun. So within 5 degrees forward, backward, from sun. So let's say, for example, the sun is sitting at 15 degrees in Leo. So as soon as Rahu enters the Leo sign, you will feel some impact, and you will feel something has changed. Either your desires have changed, and so on and so forth, which we will discuss in few seconds. But you will see that the impact, something has changed for sure. Secondly, what it also does is when Rahu, because Sun is sitting at a 15-degree, Rahu's impact, you can feel the heat coming from Rahu when Rahu comes at 10 degrees in Leo, and continues till 20 degrees in Leo sign, and specifically as it moves towards Rahu. So Rahu is always retrograde. It always moves in the backward motion. So it's going to come from 20 degrees, 19 degrees, 18, 17, 16, 15. So those are the degrees where you'll feel the most heat. Again, it's going to continue till it goes 15, 14, 13, 12. You're going to feel the most heat. And as it moves over and gets below 10 degrees, you will see that sun is going to shine again, and it's going to come out of that eclipse that Rahu temporarily put it under. So that's what basically Rahu conjunct or transiting over sun means, or temporary conjunction means. Now, what is sun? So sun is your prestige. It's a social image. It's your father. Sun represents your father. Sun represents central government or a federal government as well. It also represents your children because it's a fifth sign in the Kalpurush Kundli, or fifth house. It represents. So it also represents your kids. Sun represents your soul, your personality, your ego, your identity. That is all sun. Sun is also your creativity. It also represents your and your father's general interest in life. So for example, sun in the fifth house, you can say that, okay, so the person would be normally interested in sports, is fun loving, he's interested in romance, he's is a little bit romantic as well, and he's a very creative person. So a person born with Sun and Leo could be very creative, and they can have creative tendencies as well. Um, Now, Sun is strongest at the noon time, which means it's at the 10th house of your natal horoscope or chart, and it receives full power in the ninth and the 10th house in your natal chart. So again, these things do matter when we talk about Rahu transiting over Sun. Now, let's talk about it. When Rahu transits over your Sun, it can show that your father, if you are if you live with your father, or um, uh, if your father is alive, then you can probably feel that your father has increased desire. He's gotten impulsive, has gotten a little bit hot-tempered. It usually shows that, and it's not just because Rahu is transiting over your sun. It's just depicting. It's just kind of unfolding what's going on in your father's life. Now, as far as your father goes, there may be some combination that would be impacting his impulsive nature as well during that time. What it also shows that sometimes it brings ups and downs in your father's life. It brings some kind of stressful situation. This also means that during that time, your father may be trying to expand his career or professional life, or maybe trying to get some kind of recognition in society. So those are the times when Rahu transits over Sun, because remember, Rahu is a slow planet, so it takes a time to move over that 30 degrees in a sign, so it will have a long-term impact on father's life. So it transits over Sun for almost 18 months if Sun is the only planet there. Now, it also brings issues with the authorities in life. So like I said, if you have a father figure in your life, then it may bring your father figure in problem with the authorities, central government, federal government issues, or it could be just your case as well. And in the native's chart, this combination also signifies that he or she will take over father's business or an estate. So that person will be the first person who's going to be like, okay, I'm going to take over the funds, or I'm going to take over the business. So and it also means that the person is going to build over the father's business. If father is a businessman indeed, then in those cases, the son or the daughter, whoever has that Sun and Rahu together, will be building on the assets of the father. So they're going to take it further. Sun is, like I said before, it's a prestige and a social image. So this double-edged sword. So Sun Rahu can bring you a lot of fame, but as soon as you get that fame, remember, Rahu is temporary. Rahu was immortal only for a temporary time, but he was never able to enjoy that. So Rahu represents that temporariness of any kind of success. So whatever you get in Rahu period, it's going to go away. So Rahu basically shows that you are going to get that fame. But at the same time, by the end of the transit and or the dasha, if you're going through that, then that fame can turn into a defamation. And it's important to remember that only if your sun is strong enough, this will come into play. If your sun itself is weak, if you're not a famous person, or if you're not someone who wants to be famous, or if your sun is sitting with Ketu in the natal chart, then it's completely different ball game. But in the cases where it does represent some kind of fame, then it will also bring defamation in equal amounts. Like I said, I mean, it's got a potential of making you very famous, but then equally defame the person due to some kind of government issue as well. Now, with regards with children, it shows that the person may have girl as a child, or have more girl child children overall, as opposed to having boys. Now, even if the native do have some boys, usually the girls in the house for the native will outshine their boys. That's what I've usually seen, because Rahu represents a female child, Sun represents children. So together it gives more tendencies. Now, obviously, you do have to remember that just because Rahu and Sun are sitting together does not mean that a person is going to have children or not. It only represents a certain gender or a certain portion of that, but there's a lot more to it. We do have to read in the original chart if the person does have any other significations that is impacting this transit and or conjunction as well. But that's what it usually means. So now we are going to talk about Rahu transiting over your natal moon. So what does moon represent? Moon represents your mother. It represents your state government or local government or panchayat. Municipality is also moon. Moon represents water. Moon represents changes. Moon represents your mood swings. Moon represents your mental capacity, the mental peace that you can have is represented by moon as well. Moon represents your eating habits. Moon represents milk in your house if you consume milk. Moon represents any kind of watery or drinky liquid that you drink as well. So a moon represents a significant portion of your life. It also represents water, a portion of uh, water, how much water you consume during the day, and what's the levels of water in your body. So, that also can be signified by moon. So basically, it represents your thinking process, your thought process, your ability to withstand a bad time, how vulnerable you are emotionally, and so on and so forth. Now, when Rahu transits over your natal moon, one of the most important things that I've seen is that you will start having your migraines, you will start having your headaches, you will lose your sleep, you will have a difference, you will have a different kind of sleeping pattern. Your sleeping pattern will definitely change. You may start sleeping more, or feeling more sleepy during the day, and at nights you may be, spending a lot of time watching movies or doing activities that you usually don't tend to do. What it also represents is that the water or the food that you consume is of lower quality than what you're used to. Your circumstances that you're in, surrounding yourself right now is not so good. You may be living in a polluted environment. It may also represent that you may travel during this time as well. You may travel internationally, depending on if your original natal chart has international travel, then this transit can definitely show some kind of travel as well, depending on other transits. If other planets are supporting this, definitely shows a long-term travel. It shows trouble for your mother as well, some kind of breathing trouble for your mother. It shows you may, if you're living far away, you may go over to meet your mother. It shows travel across waters. It could be a local water, it could be international, depending on what your chart says. And again, like I always mention, and even in my first video, please read the intro, go over it, look at the introduction. I've mentioned there the reasons we have to, the two Rahu transiting over Moon are not the same is because of Desh, Kal, and Patra. If you're a foreigner and if Rahu is transiting over your Moon, it's a different story. If you're a Hindu and if Rahu transits over your Moon, it shows something else. If you're a Muslim and Rahu transits over a Moon, it shows something else as well. Overall, though the impact is similar, but it does have small differences depending on who you are, where you're from, and how you were raised and brought up, and what are your basic principles. But having said that, Rahu transit over Moon can also signify some kind of issues during the travel. So um, you may have to reschedule your tickets. You may have to reschedule, or you may receive your tickets can get rescheduled, or your travel duration can reschedule. Someone say there has been some changes in your flights, or the other thing may happen because Moon does represent changes. Rahu does represent foreign, and overall connected together, it shows some changes in the foreign travel as well. So that's what Rahu represents. What happens when Rahu transits over your Moon? You may get into trouble with your local government as well, your municipality. You may find that milk in your house, for some reason, a lot of milk is being wasted, either because it's getting it's stale, or because it gets spilt over. What it also represents is that the food that you're eating, sometimes you may be eating a lower quality food, or you may be forced to eat a lower quality food because you've traveled to a position where you don't have that high quality food as well. But it does mean that you will consume more food. You may become foodie, which you usually are not. You may drink a lot of liquid, but you may not feel that you're drinking it enough, or your body is not consuming or digesting that amount of water, and you always feel thirsty during this period as well. Now, these are my personal observations based on the charts that I've read for others and when it's transited over my moon planet as well. But you can let me know how you feel about it and what you feel about it as well. Now, I'm going to talk to you briefly about the remedies. So when Rahu transits over Sun, I would usually try to keep myself away from public, try to not become overly ambitious, because this ambition will is something that is going to bring me down. So first it's going to give me promotion, then it's going to make me put me into some kind of scandal, and then it's going to take me away from even what I had before that promotion as well. So it can even make me get fired from the job, for instance. When Rahu transits over Sun. And when Rahu transits over Moon, again, it may give you travel, but the reason you travel in the first place may not get fulfilled. The reason you wanted to travel and what you wanted to achieve from the travel, you may never be able to get that success. I mean, you may be able to forcefully, get. So you try to avoid a travel if you can. Listen to uh, your Jupiter. Jupiter is your guru. Jupiter is your instinct, your intuition. If your intuition says no, you don't want to travel, but your desire to travel, then don't do it. If you talk to someone who is of sane mind, and if that person says no, don't travel, then you shouldn't, because it may not give you the exact results that you can. But it's kind of difficult because when Rahu transits over Moon, does show obsession, so you will get obsessed with everything that's represented by Moon. And same goes for Sun as well. So, but that's it for today. There's nothing more to add here, but you can let me know how you feel about this video, how you like about the format as well. If you have any suggestions, questions, queries, please post it in the comment section here. Please like my video if you did like it, and subscribe to my channel as well. And we'll talk more about it later. Thank you, and take care. Bye.